What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, keep you up to date, and keep you informed on everything that the government does because the government's underhanded as hell. They just passed a $1.2 trillion spending package that funds half of the government. They already passed the other $8 trillion package. That's on top of another $5 trillion package, totaling $7.266 trillion. Which comes to a grand total of $1.7 trillion more money than what the government takes in. So they're spending $1.7 trillion in a deficit, more money than what they make. And half of that crap is nothing but BS. It is all BS, if you ask me. We need cuts all the way across the board. However, we have some Republicans trying to commit political suicide by GOP faces internal battle over raising age for Social Security. Yeah. When I call them Republicrats, this is what I mean. Some of these people, it seems like they're registered as Republicans, but they're actually Democrats because they are out to hurt the Republican Party. When they get on and start talking about raising the age for Social Security, right? Raising the retirement age, essentially. Yeah, that's political suicide because anybody and everybody who isn't extremely wealthy is going to depend on Social Security to a certain degree. So you're going to get a lot of people like, what are you thinking? No, don't raise the retirement age. What are you trying to make me work until I'm dead? That's what it seems like. So why would they want to do this, especially in an election year? But let's get into the story right quick. Republicans are battling among themselves over whether to push reforms to reduce Social Security spending, with some conservatives rallying around the idea of raising the retirement age. Now, I would really love to know who they're talking about because they don't spell that out in this story at all. All they do is give you comments from blowback from this, but they don't say who's doing it. So this could totally be a mainstream narrative machine lie trying to interfere in the upcoming presidential election because they do mention Donald Trump, and once again they take Trump's comments out of context and twist it around to make you believe that, oh, Trump wants to put Social Security on the chopping block. Republicans pushing reforms to Social Security argue that raising the retirement age would not cut benefits and would be phased in slowly as so not to affect people near retirement age. Yeah, who are these Republicans? I would really love to know that. But others in the party warn that talking about delaying Social Security benefits in an election year is political malpractice and would give Democrats a golden opportunity to accuse GOP candidates of wanting to cut Social Security. Now, when you have a story like this and you make this bold claim that, oh, Republicans, old evil Republicans are trying to cut Social Security, and you don't name who these Republicans are, you just start talking about the blowback from this. What is really going on with that? Are you trying to interfere in the election by saying Republicans are trying to cut Social Security, y'all? They're trying to raise the retirement age. When you don't state your sources in a story, there leaves a whole lot of room for speculation. Now, there's a whole lot of ideas around Social Security that you could reform it without changing the retirement age whatsoever. There could be plenty of reforms. But let's keep going with this story and see what the hell they're talking about. Horrible idea, totally opposed to this, Senator Josh Hawley said of raising the retirement age even for people who don't plan to retire soon. What a terrible idea. If Republicans want to be in the minority party forever, then go ahead and endorse that, he said. Republicans are so stupid. If they want to go to working people and say, congratulations, you have paid into this your whole life, your payroll taxes, and now we're going to take part of it away from you. We're going to make you work even longer than we said beforehand. I just think that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. And you know what? I'm starting to think that this is more and more of a Democrat plant Because that comment right there kind of tells me a lot about what's going on. Josh Hawley is a pretty strong conservative. He's a senator, so he's a corrupt politician, but he says things that spark my interest, if you will, like that. Yeah, that sparks my interest because he's totally right. It's a completely stupid idea, and it makes you wonder, why would a Republican come out and start talking about stuff like this? We all know that that's a terrible idea. I'm not a politician. As a matter of fact, I've just started getting into politics over the past year and a half. Something like that. I've just started commentating on politics a few months ago. And I already know that's a terrible idea. Because logically, sure, you can make a logical argument as to why Social Security is a bad thing. However, most people aren't that logical. Most people have emotions. And when you start talking about taking away something that people have paid into their entire life, you're going to piss somebody off. You're going to play right into their emotions. Now, with that being said, what do Democrats love to do? They love to play into your emotions. So I am not buying this for a second. I can almost assure you that it would be very easy for somebody at the Associated Press to come up to Josh Hawley and say, hey, some House Republicans are floating the idea of raising the retirement age. What do you think about this? And then you get that last couple of paragraphs. That would be really easy to do. And somebody like that, they're thinking right off top, oh, well, this is a journalist. I wonder who said that. But that's not what they're going to think right away. They're just going to think, when you're presented with an idea, what do you do? You start working through that idea, right? And with raising the retirement age, that's a very stupid idea. So what are you going to do? You're going to say it's pretty stupid. What the hell are Republicans thinking? Instead of asking, who said that? That's what I would have done. Maybe. Probably. Because as soon as I started reading this story, that's what I thought. That's the first thing I thought. Well, that very first paragraph, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Is like, why? Why would a Republican do that in an election year? That's stupid. And then I start reading out the story, and come to find out, most everybody agrees that's a stupid idea. Like it said, political malpractice. It's political suicide is what it is. It's not just malpractice. It's political freaking suicide. But the mainstream narrative machine loves to stir up BS. We know they love to lie. So why not, pose a question to a Republican senator as a hypothetical and make it sound like it's an actuality? Why would somebody not do that? If you're an insane Democrat, why would you not try to sow discourse in the Republican Party? Right? According to you, the Republican Party is evil, y'all. These are evil people. Right? All Christians. Christian conservatives, they're all evil. Because they love God and just want to live their life in peace and don't want your gender ideology pushed on you. Yeah, that's evil, folks. If you always trying to do good and try to be a better person, that makes you evil. If you're a conservative. So, it doesn't surprise me at all if this is totally made up, y'all. But let's keep going with the story and see what the hell. Republican calls to reform Social Security got fresh attention when the House Republican Study Committee, which includes more than 170 GOP lawmakers, released a budget plan this week calling for modest adjustments to the retirement age for future retirees to account for increases in life expectancy. Advocates of raising the Social Security retirement age in the past have proposed raising it from 67 to 69 through the RSC budget, did not cite specific numbers. The RSC budget also called for lowering benefits for the highest earning beneficiaries, an idea proponents call means testing. Now, that just proves my point, if you will. So, they put out a study to say this is what would happen if we did this. And the mainstream narrative machine just ran with it, went right to Josh Hawley and said, yeah, House Republicans want to do this. Oh, man. Modest adjustments, huh? Republicans who have called for reforms to entitlement programs have said it is important to consider changes given the nation's rising debt and to keep the programs solvent. But Democrats pounced on the proposals, arguing that Republicans would cut Social Security if they regain control of the White House and the Senate. See what I mean? You see, that's exactly what I mean. Just bounce right on that. Hey, let's float an idea. Let's do a study and see what people think of this. And then Democrats just take that as, yeah, they want to cut Social Security, y'all. Even though every single Republican in the House and the Senate and any local Republicans, state legislatures, all that, you go and ask any of them if you think cutting Social Security is a good idea, they say no. You think raising the retirement age is a good idea, they'll say no. I don't know any Republican that actually thinks that proposing this is a good idea. You do a study to see what happens. Hey, that's one thing. But actually proposing it, yeah, that's another thing. And Democrats are so full of shit that they're willing to take something, a study, and skew it into reality and make you think that that's what they're trying to do. Blows my freaking mind. They also sought to tie the proposal to former President Trump, the presumptive GOP nominee, who has recently flirted with Social Security reforms. When? I'd like to know when. You know, Social Security reforms is one thing because, yeah, there's a lot of BS with Social Security. There's a lot of crap that goes on. I got screwed. I got royally screwed by Social Security. I'll tell you the story right quick, right? My adopted dad died when I was very, very young. I was 12 years old. Say very young. 12 years old, right? He dies, so we start getting Social Security, right? When I turn 18, the government cuts it off. Naturally. Well, I was still a full-time student because I got held back a little bit in the first grade. But anyway, I was still a full-time student. So my mom goes and has Social Security turned back on because they will give you Social Security in that situation until you're no longer in school. I was still in high school, right? So now, mind you, this story, I wasn't receiving these checks, right? That was going to my mom, my adopted mom. So we're still getting the checks, blah, 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 blah. Well, I finished school. My mom does not go to the Social Security and tells them to stop sending checks. She just keeps on cashing these checks. Just continually cashes these checks for 11 months. Then all of a sudden, 6 months down the road, I get a bill for $10,000 freaking dollars. Because the checks were like $800 and something a month, something like that at the time. I get a bill, me, personally. I had to pay that back. Well, my mom doesn't have that much money. She doesn't have $10,000 freaking dollars. I had almost zero options. My only option that I had to go with, because there was no way I was getting that money at the time. I was working at Pizza Hut delivering pizza. So I wasn't making a butt ton of money. There's no way I could pay that back. So what did they do? They took my tax return checks for the next 10 years. I didn't get a single tax return until I paid that off. That was BS. However, there could be some reforms to that. There could be a lot of reforms to Social Security without raising the retirement age and without taking benefits away from people who have paid into this their entire life. Now, I think that I didn't deserve Social Security. That entirety of that Social Security should have went to my mom. However, they split it up between me, my brother, and my mom, so they were paying all three of us. Why? That doesn't make any sense. That should have just went to her, and that's it. She was taking care of me at the time. That should have went to her. Why were they paying extra money? Because her check would have been the same amount anyway, regardless if I was getting paid or not. There's a reform you can take into consideration. How about not paying the children the Social Security and just paying the spouse in a situation like that? There's several reforms you can think of to reform Social Security without taking benefits away from people. I'm not saying I'm for these things. Not at all. So don't get that, let me know down in the comments if you think those are a good idea. But there's plenty of reforms you can do without tugging at the heartstrings of the American people and without lying about it to the American people from the mainstream narrative machine. Let's keep going because we want to talk about Trump right quick. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer denounced the plan on the Senate floor Thursday as cruel and a way out of line with what most Americans want. The Republican Study Committee called for $1.5 trillion in cuts to Social Security. It's just like former President Donald Trump, who recently said that there's a lot you can do regarding cuts to Social Security, he said. Trump later walked back his comments, which were made in an interview on CNBC with host Joe Kernan, telling Breitbart News that as president, he will never do anything that will hurt or jeopardize Social Security. That is correct. Taking what Trump says out of context, right? There are plenty of reforms you can do to Social Security without jeopardizing the benefits for people who have paid into Social Security their entire life. I just find it very interesting that they want to say, oh, Republicans want to do this. And then later in the story, they cite a study as if it is an actual proposal. No, this is called a study, folks. It's called research. Let's see what happens if we do this. Then they want to try to say, oh, Republicans want to put Social Security on the chopping block, y'all. Something that Democrats can just take and run with. Instead of using a little bit of logic, making a good argument to win their elections, they have to lie to win their elections. They have to cheat to win their elections. It's all bullshit, and is why I'm no longer a Democrat. Yeah, folks, yeah. I used to be on the Democrat side of things back in the day. I used to be a Democrat. Call me whatever you want to down in the comments section, but I used to be a Democrat. Yeah, I used to be all about pro-choice. Yeah, I didn't like abortion. Safe, legal, and rare. I think she has, blah, blah, blah. I could spout out the talking points, but I'm not going to because I don't believe that anymore. Ever since I had a kid, ain't no way you can get me to think along them lines. As a matter of fact, I never thought along them lines. I had plenty of scares when I was younger, in my teens and 20s. My girlfriend would be a little bit late or whatever, and be like, oh crap, I don't want a kid. I'm too young to have a kid. But the thought never crossed my mind, oh, well, she can just kill it. Never crossed my mind. But I did think that, hey, they do have the right to do that. I still think there are some limits that, there are definite exceptions, especially for like rape and incest and all that. Most people agree with that. Yeah, rape, you don't want something, you're forced into a trauma and then you've got a reminder of that trauma for the rest of your life. Some people try to take that and turn it around to a positive thing. If you can do that, go for it. That's great. If you can turn that into a positive, because children are great, y'all. In case you don't know, children are the best thing that could ever happen to you. Children are awesome. I mean, that's our successors in life. That's how the human species continues, in case you don't know. And Democrats just want to end it all for some reason. But that's all I got for this one, you guys. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Do you think this is a conspiracy by the Democrats to try to sway the election? Because they're definitely on the losing side this time. Things aren't looking good for old Joe Biden, so they're pulling out all the stops. You got to keep your eyes open. You got to keep yourself logical. Keep yourself legitical, y'all. And let me know what you think down in the comment section. And y'all try to have a good day and be positive. Peace.